So I'm deleting those objects, resetting my scene here. And let's go into a UVW unwrap. So we'll do a simple object first to do a UVW unwrap. It'll be similar to a human head. We're just going to do a sphere. So go ahead and just create a simple sphere. And we're going to unwrap it, and we'll see how this works and what it's going to look like. So once you have your sphere, go into the modify panel. In the modifier list, I've got to select my sphere first. Modifier list, and go down to the bottom until you find UVW, or actually it's unwrap UVW. So unwrap UVW. Now as soon as we're here, I'll make sure that we do this in the right order. We're going to click on Edit.
Oh, edit.
Yeah, the big Edit button right down here in the parameters.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's strange. That's like a checkerboard.
So we have a checkerboard. Okay. And then once you have the edit open, where it says unwrap UVW in your modifier stack, hit the plus symbol next to that word. So it drops down the vertex, edge, and face selections. And make sure that our selection is set to face. Okay? So with that set, I mean, those are very, very, very important. So we're going to hit edit, and we made sure that it was on face. Then we look back in this checker window. Now what this is, essentially, is all the polygons that make up this sphere. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to organize them in such a way that makes sense. So in the Edit UVW's window here, we're going to click on Mapping. And then we're going to click on Flatten Mapping. It will bring up this little window here for us, and we can change these numbers in order to kind of customize how our facings are going to flatten out. So right here it says face angle threshold 45. That's essentially 45 degrees. So any polygons that are greater than 45 degrees in angle to each other, it's going to break them apart. Anything that's under 45 degrees, it's going to keep them together and probably skew them just ever so slightly. And then in the spacing section, it's going to take all those polygons that it's ripping apart from each other in order to flatten them and space them out based on this number here. And then these other buttons here, normalize clusters, that's essentially what it's going to be creating, is these little clusters of polygons flattened out. To normalize them, it means just to keep them essentially in kind of perspective of what they are without skewing them too much. Rotate the clusters. Let's rotate them so essentially you're looking at it straight on instead of it being like upside down, right side up, and being kind of confusing. Filling in the holes is anywhere that it creates a hole by breaking apart the polygons. It's going to try and fill that in a little bit. You can also do this by material IDs, but we haven't set any material IDs for this operation. You could have set different material IDs for the face, the arms. Let's say this is like a full-on character. You could set different material IDs just like we've seen before when we went into the material editor and we set those materials to have different ID numbers to them. Otherwise, you can essentially leave this as its default. It does a fairly good job, especially for simple objects like this. Otherwise, you can go ahead and experiment with these numbers, and you can flatten it in different ways and try and group more polygons together or group less polygons together. But from here, we're going to leave this one as the default, as it is, just for the simple sphere, and we'll hit OK. Now, from the point of hitting OK to looking, let me see if I can squeeze this window down a little bit. To looking at our shape, you can see now there's this highlighted outline around our sphere, which indicates to us, how the sphere was broken up, into what shapes. And you can see those shapes here. You can select these shapes just as if they were any normal polygon by clicking on them or dragging a selection around them. And when you select them, you can see on your shape which ones they represent. In this way, you can take this flattened version of all your polygons and organize them however you want, connecting different pieces together. But you can see there's this dark blue outline. That's essentially where you want to keep all your polygons into. That's your texture field. So you want to make sure that you keep everything in this grouping little box. Now when we're looking at this window here, I'll just squeeze it down just a little bit more again, there's a lot of tools right here towards the bottom of this window. Right now we're in face selection mode. You can see down here at the bottom towards the middle. There's also edge and vertex. So you can grab different vertices. And the nice thing about vertex, edge, and face is that when you select a specific polygon, like if I look right here, I select this specific polygon in the flattened version, I can see over here these two polygons get little blue lines on them. That tells me that these polygons right here, when they're actually in the sphere configuration, these polygons are connected to these ones. Thus, if I wanted to, I could grab these guys right here. I could use my rotate tool within the window. I could rotate these polygons around, and I could place them close to that piece, since it's telling me that those are connected together. So you can see these blue lines are indicating that it's connected to these three polygons right here. Okay? So that's how you could use this to help you organize your polygons in such a way so that when you go into Photoshop or some other painting program or texture making program, you can use this as a nice little template after you've organized it. Or you can just leave it as is. That's cool too. But this is essentially what it would look like even for a character, for their face. I would highly recommend doing those material IDs for the face or the body of a character. So essentially what you would do is you would be giving just a bunch of standard gray textures and assigning them to different parts of your character's body. And as you're assigning them to the character's body, you're changing the material ID number on those. So you could essentially give just the face area